Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sounds Good to Me, Conversations in Sound, with the lovely Yile Lau, who is in Wellington, New Zealand. Hi.
Hello.
And my name is Karen Jones, and I'm here in Las Vegas, and we're in different hemispheres with different seasons, but we're talking on Zoom at the same time. How cool is that?
That is so cool.
So we welcome you all. Our conversation today, the topic that we chose is healing stories. And there are plenty of healing stories going on. And a lot of times we don't hear about them because the whole focus on television, on the news and everything is everything that's going wrong. And, or the going wrong, you have to hear about all of the going wrong before you get to the healing. And a lot of times people will change the station if it's too positive, strangely enough.
Yeah.
There's a lot of healing going on the planet, and there's a lot of miracles happening.
Yeah.
But we were hoping some people would jump on the healing stories to tell their story.
Indeed. And actually, it's funny you say that in that way, because it's that what if we decided healing isn't? And
yes.
And that whole some people call it healing crisis, when you have a session and the stuff comes up in on a one-to-one level. The maybe you have the flu, or you start kind of having colds, and you think, oh, I just have this session, it doesn't work, or you have a bit more of a headache. In fact, I did a video on that as well, and I had so Karen and I both do access bars, and I received a session from a friend, and I just suddenly felt more tension, and then thankfully I have the tools to ask the question. But a lot of people go, well, I didn't work because my head just felt worse. And then
right.
And so we don't, that whole healing journey, a lot of people think that's it, you have one session, boom, you're done.
Right. If I don't
should feel better
right away, then it didn't work. Right.
It didn't work. But what if healing is not what we think it is? Maybe we could talk about that a bit more. Yeah.
Right. So what is healing? Is healing only considered, okay, you have a tumor and the tumor disappears, so you are healed? Is that the only form of healing there is? What if healing is a series of openings in your awareness, or openings in your growth to changing? Maybe you get sick, or you have difficulties because there's something that's being asked of you. What's being asked of you? Is there some kind of growth that's required that you're resisting? With every ounce of your being, you're not going to change. So your body gives you the opportunity to change.
Wow, yeah.
Right?
Well, what if, healing is that having those aha moments and realizations of what you've been choosing and what it's creating, and it's actually not serving in that space. What if healing is to having that space of awareness? That's what it feels like, I guess, when I'm interacting with people, is just being the space, and then allowing that space of aha or whatever, or maybe not, just that space of and facilitation for those people that are asking questions.
Right. And we return to the question, because I want to remind anybody who gets to this video in our Sounds Good to Me conversation, what question are you asking? Any questions, or are you only jumping to conclusion, or trying to figure it out? The beauty of questions, both Yile and I have done a lot of Access Consciousness. If anyone's interested, you can always go to accessconsciousness.com to get some more information, or look at our other videos, because we do talk about a lot of different things, using Access Consciousness as a point of reference. But one of their greatest tools, which is a tool that's been around since the beginning of time, are questions. The question literally does this to your world, and an answer has a tendency always to do this. This is the answer. And if you use this as your physical awareness of an answer, this is the answer. It stays in a place of where you're blind to anything else. You can only see that answer. So if you can ask a question, then you'll have greater possibility of getting various possibilities to what you're looking for, what you're trying to create.
Yeah, and that's it. That what you're looking for and what you're asking for, or what there's, you know, whether that's explicit or tacit, kind of like not expressed or not. There's the other element, I think, in the healing journey is that transformation. So is that a transformation in the mindset and or physical body or the emotional state? That there's this kind of I guess it's the same way of saying that the aha moment. There's a shift that happens.
Yes.
So I guess that's what I'm noticing a healing is, and those shifts can be very subtle, or those shifts can be very dramatic, or somewhere in between.
Right.
So I guess it's that what I'm noticing, and I guess what we're asking people out there is like, what is your healing story? Is that and sometimes it's not related to what we're asking for. And that's the other thing I noticed. That I've had people, for example, that have come to the sound bath and, you know, they just come along for the experience and just noticed a shift in their physical body, for example. And then they go, oh my gosh. Some people go, wow, it was a healing moment. But really, it was a transformation, right? There's a shift in something.
Right.
Shifting frequencies, I guess, because we're playing with sound. Right.
Right. You can't put your finger on exactly what it is, but you know that something's different. Something's changed.
Exactly.
We live in a world where oftentimes we need that right in your face. Like the only way you're going to see it is if it's in your face. We've like lost the ability to honor the subtle.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes there are days you can only receive this much. And then there are days when you can receive, wow, and you're wide open to receive it. That's when you're ready. And then there are days where you're just like, I can only get this much. And that's wonderful because it's more than you could do yesterday, let's say, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking about that the other day with on my video about that in-between bit. Sometimes it's, if you're in a dissonant, I guess, energy, and then that relief, that in between, like scrambling through the different radio stations, and then there's that in between of like, that uncomfortable bit. So is there some resistance, or you're made that kind of journey on that transition wrong, and you're in that transitional moment, and it's just like sometimes it's darn uncomfortable, but now, you know, what if now you can see that as, oh, okay, I'm just going through a shift. I'm going to allow myself to be comfortable with uncomfortable for this moment, and then I'll do whatever that will help me to make that shift to the thing that I do want, and the radio station I do want to hear. And I do want to be.
So now we're talking about vibration and frequency, which is all energy. And when you can ask the question, or you can actually allow yourself to perceive what it's going to be like before you even have it. So let's say you've been sick for a long time, and someone says, you know, well, what if we did this, and what if we did this? And so you're trying out different ways of getting to that frequency of healthy, of what it is to be healthy. And what the thing is that when you've been sick for a long time, it's like ingrained. It's like a groove. It's a path that you're very comfortable in. And in fact, it's almost as if you're looking for that, because what you're trying to create is not that groove. You're familiar with that groove. So wanting to leave it and do something else is kind of a little bit weird and strange because you're comfortable with, it's an addiction to that road. And you're
absolutely. You're trying to look for the familiar.
Right. It's in the brain. It's like literally structured in your synapses. And that's how we're designed. So how do you change the synapse? How do you move that? Say, okay, this is the synapse. I want it to move over to this synapse. And that's a different frequency. That's a different vibration. And there are so many different modalities, thank God. Yes. And we were talking about this, our last conversation is that, this was our conversation when we were talking alone, not when we were on Zoom, but we were talking specifically about how you can use sound with other modalities, you know, because there are so many different ways that so many different possibilities of healing.
Absolutely. So yeah, what stories do you have? What healing stories for yourself and or your clients and people have come to
I
sound bath?
actually had a conversation today with one of the access consciousness facilitators, and she said that she had the urge while she was working with someone, because access is all about questions. So she's asking questions, she's clearing the energy, asking questions, clearing the energy, etc. And all of a sudden, she had this inclination to make a sound, and she said, "I don't know where it came from. I listened to the request, and I made the sound." And that was it. And it was like this, ma, and then she continued asking questions. So
Nice.
the sound itself spoke to her. And sound, in fact, if you think about babies, when babies are sick, mothers have a tendency to sing more to them, other than just singing to them before they go to sleep. They'll sing to them when they're sick because it soothes, it heals, it creates a vibration of healing when the energy that's connected to the sound, or the quote unquote intention, the request is, please heal my baby, make them feel, allow them to, what is, please God help them. So this is a lot of the thoughts that are going through a mother's mind. So I use that representation because we just had Mother's Day, and we forget that we are mothers to ourselves. And in allowing that energy to flow, we heal ourselves. So what if you sang?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, the voicing of the energies, and that goes on with the self-created sound thing, the power of that. It's I guess in my own experience, as well as witnessing other people go through a change with using their voice, and for my own experience, I had I think a few years back I had a lower back pain, and that my lower L5, I had a squish disc, and so that created a little bit of a wonk in my spine, and it was painful. It was intense, and I couldn't stand up. And I couldn't sit down. I just had to lay there. I was hobbling around because my muscles were spasming. But I did manage to, I guess, when I got myself up and around, I started toning. And I noticed I started toning even more. And I did this when I did manage to get myself into the shower, just started toning, but I could notice my whole body align. Yeah. And that toning really helped me create more ease in my body. So that was one example of the self-created sound and that instrument, and how you can use that. And then the other, I guess, most example that stands out for me was this lady who came, I think I may have shared this, I'm not sure. This lady who came to Vocal Toning Circle, and I used to hold it every Friday. And she just came along because she wanted to just be with like-minded people. She was quite shy, and she phoned me up saying, "Oh, what's involved?" And I said, "Well, you can just sit in. You don't have to, use your voice. Just sit in the circle." Right. And it's about an hour of toning the bowels. And she said, "Oh, I've got MS." So she came in with MS. So she didn't have and this is interesting because she didn't have the ask to go, "I want to be healed from MS." She just wanted, "I just want to be with like-minded people so I can feel, I feel connected." Right. So she came nearly every week, and then sometimes toned, sometimes didn't. And she did some at home, toning for herself, she tells me. And then by the 5th week, something quite interesting happened for her. And she came round the next day. It was like Friday night, and then Saturday she came round, and she looked completely different. And her skin tone and it just looked glowing. Yes. And then she came in with this smile. She said, and she declared, like, "I no longer have MS. I feel really different." And she just kind of made this declaration to go, "Oh my God, I feel amazing." Wow. And it's like, wow, that's an amazing transformational story. And what was going on for her there? What was the, sometimes there's that explicit choice of, "I want to be better," or right. What was the energy that she was kind of going, I want to be part of a group that like-minded people. And
Right.
through that exploration was, whoa.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that her being a part of the group also um, multiplies, exponentializes the intensity of the request. It's like when we come together and we're meditating or we're coming together to do energy work. It's just greater. It's more powerful. It's bigger. So she was not only was she joining the group, but she was also working by herself. And then she would join the group. So it was like this lovely balance of nurturing self and being in a group that nurtures.
Interesting, because yeah, and I was just thinking about the entrainment thing and resonance, like when
Yes.
you hang around, I guess, with people that have that maybe that mindset or vibration of I'm whole, or not, that the different outlook in life. And then when you hang around with those, I guess when you hang around with people that are the complainers and the moaners,
Yes.
and
Yes.
then you hang around with those people. What if that, like you said, that group amplifies and helps and assists those
Yes.
individuals that I just need to remember that I'm whole.
Yes. Yes. That there is nothing wrong, that I'm just plugged into the wrong plug. Or into a plug that doesn't work for me anymore would be better to say, right? It's like
Yeah.
for some reason I chose that and it worked, and now I want to choose something else. That
Yeah.
healing is all about choosing what works for you and asking, what is it that what are you asking for? What would you like your life to look like? What would you like to create?
Yeah.
A lot of times, unfortunately, we'll choose something tragic, some illness, to provoke us to stepping into something greater. And in that process, it can be quite a beautiful journey. Sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes awkward. And then again, once you, if you're allow yourself the joy of it, allow yourself that the expansion. Imagine what it's moving towards. Imagine how much more fun you're going to have and how much greater your life will
Yeah.
be because of it.
Well, that's it. I guess I've heard some friends say about, healing doesn't necessarily mean that you're well and you're whole, in that sense, that her story was with her mother. And she was almost like, I am healed, like, and she was, getting ready to transition, but it's like her healing was about the soul, and that she felt that she'd lived her life, and the dissonant thoughts and the conflicting thoughts were no longer a thing anymore. So healing was that for her, not
Right.
you have to stay on this planet and and
Right.
be in that state, sort of thing. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Healing of the mind, healing of the soul.
Right. And isn't that pretty much what it's all about in the end? We're getting pretty philosophical and spiritual, I guess, but it's all about energy, right?
Yeah.
Most people believe that this solid world is what you see. They don't realize that science has proven that everything you're looking at is 99.99999% space. Okay, so that means that your thoughts and your feelings are also 99.99999% space, and we give them such validity. We make them so like, well, no, this is what my grandmother taught me, and this is the way it's going to be. But what if that point of view that your grandmother gave you is literally containing your universe with blinders, so that you can't heal because you have that respect and honor for your grandmother, that you won't let it go. So there's so many, the way our minds work and the way we create our reality and our belief systems and all of that stuff, it seems that it can be very complicated. But it really is just choice. It really does come back to, well, what are you going to choose? Is what your grandmother gave you, is it really working for you? I mean, is it really working for you? Is it making you happy? Is it making your life greater and better?
Yeah, interesting. So that space. Well, I'm realizing the other thing is that awareness of the choice. Sometimes we don't even realize we've got that running, right? And you know, but I've always done this way. What you're talking about, but then to not, I guess, because it's not wrong, or the physical symptoms don't show up, or the emotions don't show up. We don't question it. We only question it when something's going quote unquote wrong.
Right, exactly.
Oh my God, now I'll look at it.
Right, exactly. There was this woman who, a story of a woman who had a turning point in her life. Everything was lovely. She was married. She had 2 kids, had a lovely home. She was a psychotherapist. Her business was doing well. And her husband commits suicide. You know, it's like that kind of, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me. What about the children? Why didn't he leave a letter? I mean, just like she had no awareness of him being that distraught. And she was beating herself up about it. You know, psychotherapists, you're supposed to be sensitive to things like that. So literally she goes down a path of illness. So she gets a debilitating disease. She cannot move her body. She starts getting sores in her mouth. I mean, horrible things happen to this woman. She gets together with a man who abuses her. I mean, she just like for
interesting
5 years of continually going downhill because she had stress, because her husband left her with financial difficulties. They had to sell their house, go to a smaller place. I mean, she just like created one thing after the other that was about self-abuse to a certain degree of, oh my God, I'm not good enough. Why didn't I see it? Blaming herself, worrying about her children. So her stress levels had gotten to a point where when you have stress, your body, your energy field literally contracts. Okay. So you cannot see anything else but the thoughts that you are creating. And so when she was creating these thoughts, she's literally, like I said earlier, creating these grooves that her whole emotional world is getting stuck in her neurological structures, as well as in her field. So she finally listens to a friend of hers one day who says, come to this Joe Dispenza talk. And so she went to hear Joe Dispenza. Now, Joe Dispenza is an avid believer in meditation. And one of the things he talks about is music. So he uses in his meditations music to amplify his approach to his meditation. So he does chakra meditation, does a lot of different kinds of meditation. So this woman literally knew that she had to change this and this before she could move into shifting her world to a more positive or to elevated, higher frequency emotions, right? So it took her a couple of years, but miracle of miracles, disease went away, sores in her mouth went away. I mean, all the things that she had created, she got rid of that guy who was abusing her. You know, she literally went in, she tuned in. This was her technique. With these meditations, she was obstinate about it and knew that she could change it because he let her know that she could change it. And she would go to these retreats of a week. I think he does a week-long retreat. And it was like leaving what was familiar, because leaving the familiar atmosphere and going into a place that you don't know, you don't have your usual routine, you don't have the same symbols of your life around you because everything's different. And then you're in a room full of people, which we talked about, where the power of working together is just so much greater. And what you're all aiming for, what you're looking to create, and you're doing it together. And then he's got experimenting. So like you see that your brain went into this phase and you spiked and you went into a level of ecstasy that when you go into that place of ecstasy, your whole cellular structure shifts. Now, I've experienced that in some body processes that we do in Access Consciousness. I've experienced that with sound, with music when I'm singing. So I know that creation of that energy is so possible in so many different ways. So that was a story I wanted to share.
Yeah. Wow. Fantastic.
Dynamic story. And if you get his book, Becoming Supernatural, he tells you the story in like the beginning chapters. Fabulous.
It's really interesting because that was I've been that person. I'm sure there's parts of us that go through that spiral, that downward spiral sometimes, but it just reminded me of what invitation can we be when we're in the what's possible camp, I call it, rather than what's the point camp. And I used to be in the what's the point camp, and I used to work at the BBC, and I remember this one conversation, and my colleague who sat next to me, and he was really artistic. I mean, we were in the kind of project management, kind of quite officey job, but he was very creative with the data and information he was handling. And he always had a lot of after work activities with his wife, and they would be into theater and really kind of fun stuff. And at the time for me, it was like, oh, how do you do that? How do you have the time to do that? How do you even have the energy to do that? And I had this mindset of like, blah, blah, and like, oh, that's not me. I can't possibly do that. You seem really confident. Those were my thoughts at the time.
Right.
And he announced, I think he wasn't married. So yeah, he was getting married, and they decided to have a year-long honeymoon and travel around the world. Ooh. And I was like, wow. And even more like jealousy. Oh, that's really exciting. I couldn't do that. All those thoughts, that was me. And that's what I'm saying is change is possible and choice is possible. Yes. So and thankfully, Ollie, my friend Ollie, who's turned around and said, well, why don't you join us? I was like, what? And it was never a thought I would have. Like, what do you mean? It's like, we'll just you can join us part of the trip. Like, why don't you meet us at one of the locations? I was like, what? And that really twisted my world to what? Right. Really? But that invitation twisted my world and shifted it from, well, maybe I can. And I did. So I met them in Las Vegas. I met them in Vegas.
Vegas, baby.
And that was the first time I allowed myself, and I chose to go on a trip on my own solo, which I'd never done before, to the States. So it was the first time I went to the States, and it was the first time I actually dared to go out and, albeit I met with my auntie and stayed with my cousins, and there's people on the way, but it was this kind of big deal shift of a change to go from what's the point? It's not me to fuck it, I'll go. Right. Why not? And that's what they're saying. It's like, we'll just come. Like, blah, blah, blah. And that propelled me into choosing more. Because then that, like you said, that shift in mindset was then like, whoa, well, what else can I do? Where else can I go?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Ollie.
All right, Ollie.
For that invitation.
That's fabulous. What a great story. Yeah.
So what else? What invitation can you be as well? And now I'm that annoying person where someone else is going, how can she do all those things?
Yes. Yeah. It's that thought of it's impossible that screws us up. Instead of asking, well, what is possible? What else is possible with this or with that? Or I had gallstones, which I didn't discover were gallstones for probably about a year, and then it got really bad. And I was in Japan, I was singing, and I went to a doctor and organized all these tests, and lo and behold, I finally figured out what it was. It was gallstones. And I was like, okay, so what else is possible with this? And what was the value of creating this? What is it that I'm not looking at that I probably should be looking at in my life that is not really working for me? Because that happiness factor, it's pretty important in maintaining your balance and your well-being, your mental, physical, and emotional health, right? And one of the things I discovered is I was ready to leave my relationship, but I wasn't willing to do it. The other thing I discovered is that doctors don't know everything. They do have a shitload of information that's really fabulous and powerful to give you an idea of what's happening, right? And so I'm not saying not to trust your doctors, but don't give them your power. You have to know for yourself. So I jumped on the internet and started asking a lot of questions, got a lot of information, got a book. I'm a little bit OCD, so I was literally getting different people's points of view, YouTube videos, everything, and got some valuable information and eventually cured myself of gallstones. And I used alternative methods to do that, which include sound. So I would tone and meditate, and I would sing every night. So singing is such a healing thing. It doesn't matter if you're a singer or not, just sing. I don't care if you sing off tune.
Yeah.
And I also literally nurtured my body. I would take hot baths. I would caress my body and say, thank you, body. Thank you for showing me that something is out of balance. And I am so sorry I wasn't listening. And whatever you require, whatever it is that you require, please just let me know, So I had to change my diet. There was just like a whole series of things. It took about 6 months. Liver flushes, no fats, no alcohol. It was a pretty cleansing time. And literally, my body was toxic. And not only was my body toxic, my thoughts were toxic. My relationship was becoming toxic. So unfortunately, I had to go through some pain to get there. We don't necessarily have to do it that way. But if you happen to be going through that, don't make it wrong. It's not wrong. It's just another way of you finding your way.
Yeah, like I guess it's what an amazing story, because you got to find out more about different healing methods and access to all these different ways, and I guess more and more different people that were nourishing for you and your body. And that's just a great example of not making the illness the wrongness, but it's just a journey you're being guided through. Fantastic.
Yeah, getting more information, please. And I'm willing to receive it, because you also have to be willing to receive it. If you're not willing to receive the information, then you may go down the path that is not as much, it's not a lot of fun, certainly, but you'll eventually get there. So don't judge yourself either. That there's that other thing of judging yourself, that if you're sensitive, you have a tendency to do quite a bit. So stop that. So there are millions of healing stories. We'd love for you to share them with us. This video is going to be on YouTube. And you have some more videos that you're making. Do you have a channel that people can go to see your other videos?
Yeah, my Facebook page, Yile Lau, YEELEYLAU, and a YouTube channel as well. So I'm creating more insights, just ways to light your life, invite lightness into your life. So you can talk about different topics.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I also have, and we both have classes both in Las Vegas and in Wellington, New Zealand, and around Wellington, right? So you can check my website and my Facebook page. My website is heartsthatsing.com, and my Facebook page is Sound Illuminations on Facebook. And Yile, you have your website as well, Yile Lau.
I do, yeah. It's with my name, so it's yilelau.com. So you can find out what events I do offer, like online Zoom sessions as well. So for the either sound guided meditations, or I should say life alchemy, I call them. It's just like basically having the tools for what we're talking about, that self-awareness, to have that awareness of the dialogue going on that you have, and then looking at any conflicting ones and just assisting you to kind of go, oh, okay, what choice do you want to make with that, and helping you shift through those eek moments.
Moments, exactly. So we are going to continue our conversation. So whoever's going to listen to this in the future, thank you so much for tuning in to the vibrations of what we're offering. There's much to receive because we give a lot of information. In fact, we've been talking for over 2 years now.
Wow.
I need to check the date. We should be having. So we're going to continue because there's always something more to learn as in our individual lives, and then to bring to the table, to bring to you. Life is a buffet, and so it's a smorgasbord, as they say. And
yeah, what are you going to choose?
Yeah, what are you going to choose? You're going to just stick to one meal the whole time, or don't you want to? There are so many different flavors and tastes, and it's all accompanied by some beautiful sound vibrations.
Indeed.
So for you. And so thank you for tuning in, literally tuning into yourself and tuning into what we're bringing to the table. We will be back again next month. In the meantime, Ile, have a wonderful month. I will be in touch with you to have our own personal chat, because we have
Thank you,
chat, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Karen. Thank you. Yeah, thank you to those that are tuning in.
Yes, truly grateful, my friend. Thank you. And we'll see you in next month, ladies and gentlemen.
See you next month.
All right. Ciao.